Super excited to kick off our spaces. Nick here again, and we have a very exciting guest on our spaces today, Pete from Kudos, and we're going to get into that just a little bit later. But want to kick it off. Maybe if you want to say, hey, real quick, Pete. Pete's getting his mic figured out here. But yeah, I want to kick it off with some of our development updates. Kind of the agenda for today's spaces. I'm going to go through some development updates, more focused on the tech. And then I'm going to talk about some project updates. So a couple new listings, integrations, some of our beta test. And then we're going to spend the majority of our spaces chatting with some new partnership opportunities. So as I mentioned, we got some exciting things brewing. I've been hard at work. So let me double check. Well, sorry, Pete, figure that out. You should be able to unmute yourself. Okay, I think we're good to go there. Yeah, so on the development side, a couple exciting things we've been hard at work. So one is an updated website. So websites evolve just as brands evolve. You initially kick something off, and as you learn more about your market, kind of what's resonating, and then double check here. You as you work through the development roadmap, learn more about your market, what's resonating with users, with people that you want to work with. You evolve the website over time, and that's where we're at. And so team's hard at work on a new version. It's really going to be dedicated to marketing the product to our target audience. And we're going to have a lot of extensive documentation because we know that, in order to utilize our services, specifically, being able to create the VPS token or create the VPS servers, you're going to need documentation. Now, we want to make it as simple and straightforward as possible, but always having that documentation available is super helpful. So we anticipated launch for that is kind of middle of next week. So be looking out for that. We've been, like I said, partnering with some really top tier web designers, trying to explain the vision, help them understand what it is we're looking for, kind of the ethos of the project and the team, and looking to deploy that, like I said, middle of next week. And then in tandem, what we're looking to do is also have our first deployment of a prototype of our cloud dashboard. So we've successfully completed the prototype. I actually was playing around with one of the mobile version. Looks fantastic, mobile optimized, optimized for web and mobile. Not fully functional, but really what the prototype allows us to do is, again, test that infrastructure, run through the usability testing, both internally and externally, to make sure that the ease of use is on point. So something that we really want to emphasize with the project, and I mentioned it on last spaces, is, in the same way that you unbox, a new iPhone and it's just super simple to set up and get going, that's what we aim to do with our technology, right? So we want to make it so you don't need a PhD in engineering in order to spin up and utilize our services. So this prototype, it allows us to get great feedback from the community, great feedback from testers to make sure that they can perform the tasks that we're looking to enable with our MVP launch. And so all the functionality is going to be implemented according to the roadmap. This is a gigantic first step for the team to have the prototype out and working. And we're looking to ship that kind of middle of next week as well. Sending a link out, people will be able to take a look at that. Again, just wanted to set expectations, not going to be fully functional. You're not going to be able to create a VPS just yet. Again, that's not the intent of the prototype. It's really to de-risk some of our technical infrastructure, ensure that we can get our deployment pipeline set up, allow us to, like I said, conduct that usability testing in a more streamlined and easy manner. Doing something through like Figma with prototypes is great, but the closer you can get to kind of the end product, and so allowing users to sort of touch and feel what the real thing is going to be like, the better signal you get back on usability, how well things work, etc. So we're looking to release both the website as well as the cloud dashboard that's under that prototype middle of next week. And so from a development standpoint, I think those are two very exciting things that we're really proud of. So, we're working hard and kind of moving or switching gears to some project updates. So we've already announced, and you likely heard, that VPS was listed on Change Now. So that's really a top tier exchange. It enables simple and fast cryptocurrency exchange. And this listing really allows us to expand our reach, interoperability, and most importantly, our ecosystem. So what Change Now allows us to do, you can kind of think of it like Uniswap also. It makes it easier for users from other chains to join the VPS ecosystem. So something I mentioned on the last two spaces was part of our vision is inclusivity. And we want to make sure that everyone has access to our technology. And so by partnering and getting listed on these platforms and these exchanges, it allows us to increase our reach, which is great for the project and the fundamentals of the business. And then it also allows it or makes it easier for people on other chains to join the ecosystem, improves interoperability. So you can, swap different tokens, get into the VPS ecosystem, things like that. So super exciting there. And then some alpha for you guys, and something that we're excited and will be formally deploying later today is our partnership with Now Payments. And you can think of Now Payments like Stripe, right? So Stripe is a payments processor or a payments provider for a lot of the biggest e-commerce sites, a lot of businesses, anything from, coaching services to, major e-commerce websites will utilize something like that. And Now Payments provides that in the Web3 space in crypto. So this partnership will be live later today, as I mentioned, and it will enable seamless payments for our services, as well as the purchase of tokens using credit cards and nearly 400 cross-chain cryptocurrencies. So makes it, part of what will increase the adoption of crypto over time is removing some of that friction that keeps people out of the Web3 space. And so there are service providers like Now Payments that allow or provide these services to projects and to teams to basically take away some of the complexity in accepting payments from things like a credit card. Low fees. You're able to then, like I said, cross-chain cryptocurrency can trade into the VPS ecosystem. So it removes some of that friction, some of those barriers for entry, allows more people to join, rent the services, etc. So two very exciting project updates we're happy to kick off. Next up, so we've sent out and are carefully curating a list of beta testers. The way beta testing is going to work is it's an ongoing review process. We had over 75 people sign up initially. We're following up over, the coming weeks. And as we get that prototype out, what we can work with the beta testers on is some of that usability testing that I mentioned earlier, as well as talk to participants about some of their use cases, really understand what it is they need from the services. So we can ensure that when we ship that MVP later, that we're nailing those use cases and those jobs to be done for our initial users. And so we're going to carefully review. Something that I want to emphasize is it's not just an open policy. We do want to make sure that we are inviting people who are going to have a value add to the project initially, because we're going to obviously be sharing some sensitive information with them. We don't want anybody, other projects, things like that to have access, as we're kind of in this phase where we're looking to launch our utility. So, we have a lot of exclusive features. So it's going to be kind of selective, but we'll basically be extending invites to those beta testers over the coming weeks as we look to reach out to them, work with them on some of our prototype testing. And then as we, in parallel, are working on the MVP functionality, and that functionality starts coming live, we will invite those users to also start testing, connecting a wallet. We can give them credits. They can attempt to create VPS and spin those machines up, give us feedback. We can walk through that. And so it's a great opportunity for us to engage with the community, get that real user feedback that's going to make the product stronger, um, and just again get that feedback. So super excited about that. I'd say kind of the last thing and what we're most excited about and what we want to talk is we have Pete from Kudos, and so Kudos is going to be one of our infrastructure partners. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Pete for a little bit and let him kind of introduce himself, his company, what they're doing. Super exciting time to be in the space. And yeah, we'll kick it off from there.
Thanks, Nick, and yeah, GM everyone, and yeah, a few mic issues at the beginning, but we got there. So really happy to be here today, and that was yeah, really great intro into VPS and what you guys are doing. It sounds just to be involved in the project is exciting as well. So yeah, we're loving to see exactly where this goes and how you scale over over the coming weeks, months, years as well. So really pleased to be part of it. So yeah, just to introduce myself, I'm one of the co-founders here at Kudo, which is a company behind Kudo's blockchain and Kudo's Intercloud, which is our compute product for on-chain compute or compute from the blockchain, shall I say. We are a bunch of ex data center and cloud people in the industry since 2001, 2002. The previous business was a data center marketplace, hyper connected with dark fiber networks. We were building cloud systems, we were hosting cloud systems. So that's kind of our pedigree, it's our background. And when that business was sold in 2016, we really wanted to change that model into a software model and create a global cloud marketplace. So that's exactly what we've done. We've got a couple of core products, and the reason that we have built it in this way is to make sure that anybody, regardless of which ecosystem they're coming from, that could be within Web3, but it could also be outside of Web3 as well, can access scalable cloud computing. And then just to go one step further, we're making sure that all of that kind of compute resource, all of that GPU compute resource is coming from sustainable energy powered facilities as well. So big focus on security. They're in professional environments, but there's a lot of distribution. So we have all the non-hyperscale service providers around the world are essentially our targets for bringing on as suppliers to the network. And then our software does, all of the sales, marketing, onboarding, networking, security, etc., etc. So very similar approach to your good sales in creating something that's super easy to use and accessible, and really focusing on the kind of environment piece as well. So if you are a project, a protocol, or business, a bit like VPS. And you need to integrate to our API so you can use your own interface and be able to scale out to our cloud in the background. That's there. If it's a Terraform tool, it's there. CLI, if you just want to go through the user interface, it's there. But what we've also done is we've built the smart contract interface for the Web3 community. So if you are individual users and you don't need to integrate to an API, you can connect your digital wallet, very similar to what you'll be able to do with VPS. And go through and be able to pay in cryptocurrency without the KYC in a permissionless way, because we've already done that kind of verification of funds. So that's us. We are the kind of picks and shovels behind the scenes, if you like. Our strategy is very much working with really cool projects like VPS that are offering that kind of value add and decentralization on the top. So that's been it. I think I'll keep it to that. Otherwise, I could keep going for minutes.
No, that's great, Pete. We really appreciate kind of some of the background. I was kind of curious. I was browsing the website. I wanted to hear a little bit more about maybe your guys' origin story. And you guys mentioned, ex-data scientists, data center team. What did you see in this space that really spoke to you, or kind of that opportunity that you saw?
Yeah, I guess we set up Kudo, which is the kind of parent company, if you like, behind the Kudo's blockchain, and Kudo Compute, which is our Web2 focused cloud marketplace platform and set. Yeah, I mean, the originally when we were looking at this, if I go all the way back to kind of 2011, we were looking at all of the different providers that were taking hosting space from us, from one of our kind of 50 data centers that we had online. And this is really a kind of that start of the growth curve for cloud computing. So nothing to do with blockchain at that point, just pure kind of cloud computing. AWS had been out a few years. Azure was developing, but it wasn't actually launched yet. GCP wasn't launched yet, right? So it was right at the beginning of that, and you had hundreds of these kind of smaller cloud service providers. A lot of them has have either gone through kind of acquisition since, or they're still around, they've grown, but they're not the hyperscalers. And they were our customers. They were taking this space within the data centers. And to a certain extent, we were managing a lot of those environments as well, and we were looking at the kind of utilization, and just noticing that everyone needs, all of these cloud service providers need to build for the peak of activity. And that means that they're constantly having to scale, because people need more and more computing power. That's just the nature of how things grow. Our kind of reliance on the internet and applications, and they get more sophisticated. But that means that in the non-peak activity hours, you are just getting this growing gulf of underutilization. So the original problem that we saw in 2011 that we wanted to fix was, how can we fill that spare capacity? There's a lot of wasted IT out there. It's causing revenue loss for these service providers, but just from a kind of waste point of view, from a sustainability point of view as well, there was a lot of computing resource that could be tapped into. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Now, the technologies at the time weren't really there. The market definitely wasn't there, because the big public hyperscalers were just taking off, as I mentioned, and so we just kind of parked that idea, and we just kept on growing the business at the time. And then in 2016, we got an offer come in to purchase the company, and they wanted to merge it into another managed service provider within the UK industry as well. And we thought, let's just kind of have a look at this problem again, and see what has developed, and then how we can build something to solve that. And that's really kind of where Kudo was born out of. We looked at the technology and advanced a lot. And this new thing, blockchain. I know Bitcoin obviously launched in 2009 and been out for a few years, but in terms of actual applications starting to be built, 2016 was still very, very early within that cycle, and lots of buzz going on because of all the ICOs that were happening at that time, but nothing was really built at that stage. But we saw that as kind of, this is going to be huge. Blockchain is going to, is just going to keep growing, like the early internet is going to start exascaling, and it's just going to hit that inflection point. And it's, and we've all seen that, right? So we're 2024 now. We're 8 years on from that point, and we've seen how much this has swelled, and this is going to keep on going and keep on going. The level of innovation in this space is crazy. So we just wanted to make sure that if we're building an ecosystem, we're going to future-proof that, and we're going to be able to serve this. The majority of those cloud users out there are still within that kind of Web 2 world. They're still the enterprises, the corporates that are using the kind of hyperscalers over the last kind of 10 years. That's where the majority of business still is. But, blockchain and the applications and everything that's being built within the Web3 ecosystem is growing at just a stupendous rate. And so we knew that we had to future-proof. There was going to be a transition where more things are moving into Web3 over time. It does take time because, all the points that you made as well, you've got user experience that needs to be improved. You've got new, just the technological kind of evolution of any kind of new technology. It follows a very similar pattern. And so that's where the Kudo ecosystem come from, which includes the Kudo's blockchain and our latest product that we released, which is Kudo's Intercloud beginning this year. And that Kudo's Intercloud, as I mentioned at the beginning, is really just the kind of the Web3 access point into that scalable distributed network that we've built.
That's fantastic. No, I appreciate the background. It's always exciting to kind of hear how a company is founded and what opportunity they see in the market space. So, talk to me a little bit too about some of these partnerships and kind of what is exciting about working with a company like ours, and how that maybe helps both Kudos and us.
Yeah, I guess my background at the previous company is kind of it's carried forward into what we're doing now. Is I've always built things from a sales point of view via channel. So I really, really believe in kind of really strong partnerships, because that is the best way to grow. With the type of services that we're providing, because we are pure infrastructure. We're not providing managed services. We're not providing ML ops or language model ops. We're not providing kind of generative AI as a service, rendering as a service, or anything like that. We are purely infrastructure as a service, and that is just kind of perfect for a channel model type business. So, when I'm looking for really strong partnerships, it's like, who out there is building something or has built something already that has got access to, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of users as it scales, that we can add a lot of value into them, but also they can add a lot of value into us, right? So always look at things as a kind of, this is a two-way street. If you're going to build a partnership, you've both got to be invested into that. You've both got to be kind of going for that same North Star, if you like. And so that's kind of what I saw with VPS. I mean, how long ago was it that we've had our first conversation? Not very long at all, really. If you kind of look at the grand scheme of things, and the rate, the speed that you kind of developed, and we kicked things off. We clicked instantly on that first call, and it's like, right, this is something cool here. We've got the exact tool that you need to be able to integrate into to get access to this infrastructure. Is the right type of infrastructure. It's not going into an AWS. It's over a distributed network. So from a kind of a kind of road to decentralization, that's kind of a big leap forward there. It's lower cost because we're using renewable energy type facilities which have a much lower power cost. So there was just so much that was kind of like tick box, tick box, tick box, tick box, and weeks later, it feels like maybe it's a couple of months, but weeks later, here we are. We're announcing it, and your team has done an amazing job of kind of getting it to market this quickly. So yeah, well done. Kudos to you.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. And no, I like what you said too. A partnership is absolutely a two-way street. And I think of the example you study kind of in business school a lot about Netflix and the discipline they had to spin off Roku. Even though Roku at the time was a pretty big cash cow, but the limitation they had by potentially being not only a service or a cloud provider of content, but then also having a hardware device is that then they are now competing with everybody. And if they want to have their distribution be spread across every single device that you can have, having or being tied to a specific hardware partner really limited them. And so I think it's fantastic what you guys have done as far as positioning in that you can have all of these partnerships and grow your ecosystem because you're not necessarily trying to compete with people building that layer of innovation on top of your tech stack.
Yeah, and
And
I think you're not limited to the same. You don't have the same limitations either. I mean, one of the biggest limitations that we had in the previous business was that if you wanted to build a new data center, you got to raise all of that capex. You got to go out and build that data center. You've then got to find time to fill that data center. And then if someone came along and said, right, I need 1,000 of these racks and you've only got 999, then guess what? You're not going to be able to serve that deal because that's your own limitation. So, by building it in the way that we have, creating a distributed marketplace where we can tap into all of these professional service providers all around the world. And, some of those might be, let's take, for example, we've got one in Brazil, right? So that one in Brazil is serving the local region, Brazil, maybe even to kind of Latin America with its compute resource. Guess what? In we come, we're able to connect some of their resource into our marketplace, and we give them a global audience overnight. So so it's again, it's that kind of whole thing. What value can we bring into you? Can we give you another additional route to market? But at the same time, we're just removing that kind of limitation that we would have in a kind of traditional centralized cloud or data center type business, where it's your own capacity is your limitation.
no, I mean, that's really interesting. You've seen kind of that trend as far as decentralization. I mean, that's part of what is exciting about Web3 and, the space in general is that, you have unused compute resources, as you guys mentioned, sitting idle. And, you take something even as noble as something like folding at home, right? And everybody's got a gaming system sitting around, maybe not being used, or an old PC, and you can contribute in a significant way to cancer research, right? And it's amazing what we've been able to do with some of that connected and distributed compute resources that has, I mean, you could argue that has really powered the AI revolution that we're seeing now. And, up until now, we didn't have the level of compute required for some of these LLMs and, enough data. And we've kind of reached that tipping point. And it seems like services like Kudos are continuing to harness some of that unutilized compute power to, enable the next generation of applications and technologies built on top of it.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. In fact, it's quite an interesting one that PlayStation. I mean, you alluded to the game console anyway, but PlayStation at one point, or the PlayStation Network, should I say, was the world's largest supercomputer for about 6 months, I think it was. So there were about 100,000 PlayStations that joined the folding at home or SETI at home at the
Uh-huh.
time, around about 2011. And because they were all connected, yeah, that became the world's largest supercomputer for a brief moment of time. So yeah, it's incredible, and that was that was back then, 2011. Now you layer kind of blockchain on top of that and kind of decentralization. Now everyone can get paid for that. And that's like the real kind of beauty of this technology and how it's just opening the doors for people to be able to earn in a different way, to be able to contribute in a different way, for companies like yourselves, for us to be able to scale in a different way. So yeah, it's really cool what's happened over the last kind of 15 years or so.
Yeah, and I mean, you just had these bunch of gamers buying GPUs to play games, and little did they know that they were building their own micro data center
Yeah,
that could, connect up to a service like Kudos, and that they could start earning revenue. Which, given the prices of GPUs over the past bunch of years, it's probably a good thing to be able to offset that cost just a little bit.
absolutely.
Well, awesome. No, we really appreciate you joining. Super excited to be working together with y'all. Looking forward and looking ahead to what we're going to be able to work on. As heard early in the call, hard at work with the prototype and getting our DApp shipped, so we can then also leverage some of that decentralized compute, like you were talking about, and explain very eloquently to the community. So we appreciate you joining the call.
You're very
Um,
welcome.
yeah, typically we'll just end and see if anybody has any questions, and then we will get to getting. I'm gonna check our thread too, because sometimes people are a little shy about chatting, but still want to ask a question. Let's see, got one requested here. All right, Arn, go ahead. Do you have a question, Arn?
Hey, what's up, Nick? How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, brother. Yeah. So listen, kudos to kudos. Actually, just that
Thank you.
actually just rolled off the tongue. I didn't do that intentionally, but it does sound funny. I will say this: it is so good to see so many on the call, and I just want to rep the community here. For those that are not living under a rock, VPS has got one hell of a community. It's been forming. It's solid. It's growing. There's always a lot of questions, which is good and that's healthy. And for those that don't understand a lot of those kinds of things, or maybe just have any other questions, I want to encourage everyone to just keep coming to the chat. Keep coming into the chat room. We got a great team of mods there. Big ups to Echo, big ups to Q, big ups to Sphinx. If you've been part of the party, then you know some of these characters and you know what we're up to. And, VPS is a special token, it's a special project. They're going to do things their way and they're going to build something very incredible. So, I'm on the inside of it a little bit. I kind of work with you guys. I help in the chat, and that's great. But I'm learning every day as I go on too. And I just wanted to come on up and just tell you guys that I'm proud. I'm impressed, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. So, big ups to all of you. And big shout out to Crypto Doctor, Alexander the Great. They're on. There's some of our mods as well. And just keep it going, man, because Nick, you're working your tushy off and you're working so hard. And I know that you guys are building something pretty fantastic. And I know that for everybody who's on the call and wants to learn about the tech, but is also confused and not confused, but wanting the X's. Well, those will come too. So just buckle up and be part of the ride. VPS is doing something very different and very unique, and it's just great to be part of it. So big ups to you guys.
Really appreciate the kind words and the support. Uh, I know in the space in general, things tend to move extremely quickly, and people expect like every single day you have some new giant update or some release. The fact of the matter is, like, building an actual product is not a thing that happens in 24 or 48 or 72 hours type thing. So, I can assure you we're working hard with the development team. Got a very strong team of developers. We're trying to put out, some of the utility and the sneak peeks to show people, and showcase what's actually happening from a development standpoint. Um, kind of just circling back and make, if anybody joined late, new website, and we're launching the prototype next week so we can start onboarding some of our initial beta testers. So I feel very good about the development progress. If anything, having worked in like non-crypto software companies for quite a long time, the pace at which things happen in this space is astronomical. You typically don't see businesses going from concept to fully launch MVP in like a month, and so I think even that is just incredible to see. It's a lot of fun. Like you said, it's a lot of work to make sure everything is coming together, but it's super exciting. And again, working with people like Pete with Kudos, it allows us to scale our efforts smart and really make investments where we think we can add value. As Pete mentioned, it's hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to build a new data center. And so by partnering with infrastructure providers like Pete, we can abstract away some of that complexity, some of the logistics there, and build a layer of innovation on top of these different networks that allow us to again take kind of our unique advantages or the unique skills and really deploy those. And so again, that's going to be ease of use. It's going to be the democratization of our services. Um, so that's what we're really excited about. So yeah, just want to throw that out there. Anybody else have any questions? Want to chat?
It's a tough crowd, Nick. It's a tough
I
crowd.
sometimes, I mean, it's
No, but you
middle of
know
the
what? Listen,
week.
if I could just hop back on and just agree with you, I think people sometimes are short sighted in crypto, and you're right. The space moves so fast. Everybody, it feels like the X's they're everywhere, and if you miss one, well, then you can find another. And sometimes, and I will just say this, and I see some people on the call who I recognize, and they recognize me, and I say the same thing a lot of times in crypto with other projects I've worked on, and just in general, it's a good thing to go by, and that is this: that sometimes the X's you want are going to be there, but you got to stop investing in tokens and start investing in people. Invest in the people you know have the goods. Invest in the projects you know have the deliverables. Invest in things that you know, yeah, they may take time, but when they turn heads and when they start delivering, oh, those X's will come. And sometimes just a little patience is what all you need. And we live in this world, certainly on the DeFi level and in crypto, where it just seems like the returns are extraordinary and they come immediately. And while that may be true, and people can play the DGen rounds if you want to, and play the slots, ape whatever you want, and rotate into this and rotate into that. Hey, you can make 1,000 X's a day. Yeah, that's nice and dandy, but that's not what this kind of project is. And I just want to reiterate to everybody who's listening that this is a company and they are building something fantastic, and they are building something that's going to be lasting. And some people said, "Oh, where do you see?" Somebody said in the chat, "Where does VPS see themselves in 2 years?" Well, how about the leader in GPU? How about that? And how about sooner than 2 years? Um, and when you have goals like that, you're not concerned about where the chart is right now. You're not concerned about the X's that you got today. You're just, you buy, you hold, you shill, and you chill, and you support, and you play your role, and that's how that's where the real good stuff comes from. And I think sometimes in crypto, people are a little short-sighted, and that's okay. We're expecting these monstrous returns right away, and we lose sight of the fact that sometimes there is a little thing called investing. And when you invest in something, you watch it build, you watch it grow, and the gains that come from that are so much better than the quick, easy change that you get, just playing any of these tokens in this space. And so, again, I just want everybody to remember that VPS is a company. It's building something quite substantial. It is not a meme. and it's got real legs to it. And so if you are willing to do the work and hang in there and wait a little while and just be part of it, then I think you'll all be happy with the X's that are coming. And so again, on that note, hats off to you guys again.
Thank you. So let's see. Got one from Advanced Tech.
Hey guys, just wanted to make a comment. Thanks, Pete. It's fantastic to find out about Kudos. I've been an investor in Kudos for 3 years, and I know everything that's going on there. And this is all really exciting, and I think is what both projects need, and it's exciting to see. And I just think as people understand what's going on here, it takes some time, but it's really important. In fact, I think everyone has some concerns about AI and where it's going and who controls it. And, when the biggest AIs in the world, also the same companies own the servers, I think it's a bit of an issue. And, we can, with both products, we can provide a bit of an insurance in reality for all of humanity to have access to decentralized compute that nobody can stop. Nobody can censor it. We have the ability to access it without having a company bless our using their compute, right? So I think as people realize what's being built here, it's more powerful than you see on the surface. And yeah, it's exciting to be on the good side and just work with great people. So
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks,
I was at NVIDIA GTC, and it was like one of the coolest things was seeing all the robots on stage, but also one of the most harrowing things at the same time. So it's kind of all right. We are now live inside the sci-fi movies that we watched when we were kids. So, but no, I appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
All right, we got one from Odin. I don't know what they're doing at X, but you have to tap approve multiple times. I'm going to talk to my buddy Elon and see what he can do about that. Go ahead.
Hi, I was wondering how you're going to compete with some of the other first movers and other decentralized ones out there. I'm talking even like outside of the crypto space, because there's a few more first movers before you guys. Just wondering what your plan is for dealing with that. Cheers.
Yeah, great question. So competition is always great. You just like training, right? When you train with people who are faster than you get faster. So we welcome competition. And I think when it comes to first movers, right, it's really understanding what your competitive advantage is. We have a very strong team, been in the tech space for quite a long time. We look to, like I said, partners like Pete for inspiration, team at Kudos, and really it's figuring out where you're going to add value. And so for us, that is back to that just ease of use. I kind of mentioned that Apple analogy earlier where you power up your iPhone and it just works. And that's really what we want for our technology as well. We just want it to just work. And so we are going to make it just seamless and easy to spin up some of these compute resources. Use extensive testing with users, make sure the usability is just spotless and polished. And that's going to allow us to compete. And then, it's kind of doing some of that competitive analysis and understanding some of their strengths and weaknesses and where, again, we think we are going to be well positioned. So you're not going to be better than a competitor in every aspect of your product. It's just that is too time consuming and too costly. So you're going to concede some ground, and then you want to have some delighter features. And so for us, what we're looking forward to is some of that marketplace aspect, some of the community driven like templates, and then starting to leverage some AI tech in our product to, again, really make that usability seamless.
Yeah, I would add to that as well, man. I think there's first movers. They typically have an advantage in the market, especially in the early years. But I kind of go back to the hyperscalers again. Microsoft Azure was launched 8 years, I think, after AWS. It's nearly it's catching up on market share. It's not that far different. Multi-trillion-dollar company. You could say that across anything, right? There's lots of layer ones, there's lots of DeFi applications, there's metaverses that are springing up, blockchain games. So yeah, it's just really about finding that identity, sticking to that identity, sticking to your guns, to that business plan, and the beauty within the kind of this Web3 space is community, right? So really kind of building that community, that loyal, solid community that is interacting with you daily, that is helping, you know, kind of shape that future for you. I mean, it's a real kind of different approach to, you know, previous businesses I've been involved in, where you're a private company, and until you go public, you don't need to kind of share that level of detail. But guess what? When you're kind of within Web3, you're public from day one because your community has access and sees everything that you do. It's all very public. So yeah, I think, you know, first mover advantage. There are, you know, some decentralized clouds that are within the ecosystem that have done a good job so far, and they've got good products. But I don't think it is necessarily the, you know, the means that they're going to, you know, remain the leaders for, you know, for a period of time, and that could be 6 months, could be a year, could be 5 years. Who knows, right? But I think there's we all get the benefit, I guess, of seeing, all right, what worked, what didn't work, the technology has come out which makes this a little bit easier, makes this a little bit smoother, makes this a little bit more interoperable, and we get to kind of build that in at that point, and you know, hopefully that gives us an advantage over the market as well.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I think on that, I want to end. That's a perfect ending to the spaces. You know, again, want to thank you so much, Pete, for your time. I know you're a busy guy and you got a lot going on, so we really appreciate you taking some of your day to day. Yeah, no, thank you. And you know, talk to the community about kudos of this partnership. So on that note, I'm going to close the spaces down and look forward to talking to you guys in the near future.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.